Good morning, folks. Welcome to the Post Morning Show. I'm your host, RDizzle408, with my co-host, ML. The date is Friday, The date is Monday, July 28, 2028. 2025. Sorry about that. Our topics for the day. First, Ukraine update. 5 were killed in recent drone attacks. 2, ObamaGate, what the media is ignoring. 3, EU deal, taco or historic. Now to the first topic. 5 killed as Ukraine and Russia trade drone attacks. This from the BBC. Ukraine officials said on Saturday that more than 200 drones and almost 30 missiles were fired by Russia, with most targeting Dnipropetrovsk, where 3 people died. In Russia, Rostov's acting governor said 2 people died in the region after a car caught fire following a Ukrainian drone strike. The attacks came as both sides gave updates on their military operations. Russia claimed to have taken 2 villages in Ukraine's east, while Zelensky said troops were gradually pushing Russian forces out of the Sumy region. Regarding these drones, this is what a Ukrainian military spy official told Reuters almost exactly 1 year ago. Russia has been including new, cheaply made drones in long-range attacks on Ukraine to try to identify air defenses, film any damage, and act as decoys. Now, we have one additional source. This is from Drone Life. Russia appears to have scaled its use of fiber optic drones dramatically since the spring 2024, deploying them in large numbers across eastern Ukraine. According to the Moscow Times, the Russian military has integrated these drones into both special forces units and regular infantry battalions. I was going to define what fiber optic drones are, but just think of a long tether. If ML gets with us later, he had some stuff on this. But, Andre, I thought you might have some thoughts on what is going on with these drones back and forth.
Not much in terms of progress in terms of either way. Both sides have taken a couple of village positions and then pulled back. So it's been a crazy weekend in terms of if you're trying to figure out what's happening on the front line. Russia was kind of confident it would take 3, we don't call them villages, but settlement of urban type. So slightly bigger than a village, smaller than a city. And they thought they could get like 3 of them in one by this weekend. That's their goal. That was their goal for like July, to get this additional tranche of territory. I mean, we're not talking about a lot of kilometers, but it would be strategic in terms of the roads and the rails that go through there. But they haven't been able to quite do that yet. The drone stuff is going back and forth. Ukraine hit a big power station in Russia over the weekend with theirs. Russia has been just going nonstop every night in terms of the Iranian drones on the big cities and the glide bombs. And then ballistic missiles still, we're still waiting on the Patriots to defend from them. One of the notable things that the United States agreed to, there were 4 things that the State Department put out agreements with Ukraine getting weapons through purchasing, and one of them was the Hawk system. The Hawk system predates the Patriot system. The United States have technically never used it themselves. They've always sold it to other places. So there are some generals who think that might make a good sense because of the type of bombs, type of rockets Russia uses. The Hawk system will be good. So even if they can't get enough Patriots, the Hawk system might be able to suffice for the ballistic missiles that Russia uses.
Thank you for that, Andre. And this fiber technology, is this just the evolution of things where you kind of go back to, I don't want to call it basics because it's a 20-kilometer fiber optic line, right? That's hooked up to these drones.
Yeah, so, I covered that on a couple of shows last week, but this is where
I think Steve Holder maybe brought it up.
Yeah, this is where Operation Spiderweb gets its name. Operation Spiderweb was the big tactical victory by Ukraine a couple of weeks ago, where they took out those Russian bombers by delivering containers onto Russian territory, and then those containers had drones that took off with spiderwebs attached. Spiderwebs are the fiber optics for those who get to visit frontline areas. If you see a line of trees or bushes with these fiber optics, they very much look like spiderwebs laying on them, and that's your sign that you're in the area that you shouldn't be going into. It's what other people have noticed from Claymore mines before, but this is just much more prominent. You have lines resting everywhere, and that they're being used. The reason for this is that at the beginning of the war, I mentioned a couple of stories last week. Russia's dominance in electronic warfare outclasses anything in the West. So when the war began in 2014, any kind of Ukrainian radios communications were just not functional. Russia was able to jam it almost completely. Nowadays, it's much better in terms of increased communications capabilities, but in terms of electronic warfare, both sides. In fact, Russian military bloggers in the last week have been really railing against the electronic warfare that Ukraine has been doing against Russian drones. So both sides are pretty effective at jamming any kind of electronic equipment, and that's why spider webs are the way to go for the time being.
Okay, thank you for that, Andre. And that will be our Ukraine update, unless anyone has any additional questions.
I think the other thing was that Trump mentioned it today, so that was something in the. Is he still talking, by the way? That Trump outside the meeting with Starmer said that he is interested in that he is looking at shortening that 50-day window that he gave President Putin. We don't have any other guidance other than he said that outside the door, and then he said it again in questions next to Keir Starmer. So I'm assuming that's why I'm going to get a whole bunch of interview requests this week, but there's no guidance from state. There's no guidance from the White House what this means. We'll see.
Okay. Thank you for that, Andre. Now, moving on to our next topic on whether or not we would ever be here had it not been for the stated coup on Trump's first term. This is the claim. Obama called for the manufacture of intelligence, a conspiracy led by former President Obama himself. Now then, when Trump said, find me 30,000 votes, he meant find voter fraud on the magnitude of 30,000 votes. Trump then did not go out there and surreptitiously create 30,000 votes. However, when Obama said, find me the intelligence, it appears he meant go create the intelligence. And this is what we have in ObamaGate. Not wise elders who just knew in their heart of hearts that Pootie Pie was up to no good, but rather treason of the highest order. Here is John Ratcliffe with Maria Bartiromo. We're going to play clip number 1. Give me 1 second, folks. Here we go.
There is no doubt in my mind that the people that we just talked about conspired. They conspired against President Trump. They conspired against the American people. And so I'll leave it to Pam Bondi and our Department of Justice, Kash Patel and our FBI to investigate the conspiracy to do what and what charges that they're capable of bringing. But again, I don't think statute of limitations are going to impact, because in a conspiracy, Maria, the statute of limitation doesn't start to run until the last act in furtherance of that conspiracy. And Maria, part of why this is so important is the people behind this are still furthering the conspiracy. They're refusing to admit or acknowledge what they did in 2016 and what they did in 2020 was wrong. And so I think that's why this is so important and why I'm excited about what the American people will see very shortly and what's to continue to come.
Okay, so what is he talking about? What exactly has the media covered up? What is the conspiracy? What is the still long-standing fiction that Russia was trying to hack the election? This was the pretext. The evidence against Obama turns out to be the faking of evidence to create a years-long media-driven coup on President Trump's first term. However, the claim is that Ben Carson, Rand Paul, Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, Jeb Bush, all the campaigns were targeted. Here's a clip from George Papadopoulos, who met the devil and lived to tell the tale. All right, here we're going to go real quickly, folks.
So I think those people that willfully suppressed it weren't just Democrats. They were part of Trump's own administration, and Pompeo the same. So those people were part of any conspiracy to withhold these facts. They should be held accountable too. So that's the first thing I just want to make very clear to your audience. The second thing I think we're going to find out moving forward is that Obama made the calls in 2015. The moment Trump went down those escalators, the moment the 2016 presidential campaign season went into full effect, when people like Ben Carson, Cruz, Rubio, remember all the all-stars, the Jeb Bushes, all these guys, Obama saw this and he said, wait a minute, there's some heavy hitters here in theory, right? Jeb Bush, former governor of Florida, Bush name, millions of dollars behind them. Ben Carson, Marco Rubio, senator, Rand Paul, another senator. There were a lot of heavyweights, Chris Christie. So what did Obama do? He picked up the phone in 2015. He said, look at all of these guys. What can you find on every single one of these people to dirty them up, spy on them, and if they have a chance in hell of actually beating Clinton, to cripple their administration from day one? I think we're going to find out that it wasn't just Trump's administration or campaign that was targeted. I think basically every single legitimate 2015, 2016 Republican was targeted by the Obama FBI, the Obama CIA, and some of these global actors. And I think that's going to be the major next shoe that's going to drop. And why you see DNI, Gabbard, and Trump is so confident that they got in a criminal conspiracy. And I'm still land on this. I said I've been on Twitter on my X account. If you just declassifying this weird meeting that Obama had in December, it's not going to go far enough to bring in a government conspiracy. If you declassify the stuff that I'm talking about here, that's how you bring Obama and Clapper and Brennan and Comey and potentially Clinton into a government conspiracy.
Okay, so this is not just about Trump. This is about the entire Republican opposition field. Final clip, John Kiriakou told Matt Taibbi that espionage charges are in order. Here is Kiriakou, former CIA, bringing the heat. Matt Taibbi.
Violation of the Espionage Act.
Is it?
Yeah, in my case, the judge set a precedent by defining espionage as providing national defense information to any person not entitled to receive it, period. And so if the information, when it was leaked to the Times and the Post, hadn't been formally declassified, that's an act of espionage.
Ooh, that is interesting.
Okay, all right. So hopium, or is this evidence, which is the evidence, which is the faking of evidence, stored within a paper trail of classified documents? Will Brennan, Clapper, and Comey be charged with felonies? If the conspiracy is ongoing, then is President Obama still immune from prosecution if he is no longer president? What do folks think? Andre, I know you have some thoughts on this.
Just a couple of things. I keep hearing the mention of a coup from the president, from your description. I would like to know when this coup started, how long it was in power, who were these people running the country, when did the coup end? Coup is a term. It doesn't mean you're being mean to me. So if people are using the word coup, we should probably define that. Second of all, President Trump is recorded as what he was saying in terms of, I need to find 11,780 points. Guys, we're just talking about 11,000 points. Come on, man. There is no additional context. We have the president on tape with that. What was being described by President Obama, we do not have a transcript of that. So I don't know where people are getting the context that President Obama ordered this, and that. There's no written transcript that I've seen yet. So I don't know where this reporting is coming from, other than people perhaps talking out of their butt.
Okay, thank you for that, Andre. Dean from Ohio.
That's my segue. Thanks, Andre. I appreciate that. Now I'm going to give you a bystander's point of view. So I support the president, and I thought when these charges came up in the first term, there was some type of concerted effort to get this businessman. Now I'm taking you back. I'm taking everyone back to, what did you think about Donald Trump when he first got in, came down the escalator? What did you think when he won the Republican nomination? What did you think when he first got in? There was, in my estimation, from everything that I heard, some type of concerted effort that was, with the media as well, saying, man, this cannot be right. Are we really going down this path? Flash to today. From a bystander, but yet a supporter, I really don't care that much. I hear stuff coming from Matt Taibbi that I generally trust what's coming from him. I've heard stuff with Megyn Kelly talking to Andrew McCarthy that they both sound very plausible. I don't know if there's going to be enough there to substantiate any type. I certainly don't think anything's going to happen with President Obama, but I'm just in a wait and see attitude with this. And I think many people are. I think there's too much else going on. To my friends on the left saying that this was just thrown at this time to change the news cycle, I can't disagree. I'm not saying it's not important to eventually figure out, but I still can't disagree either. So my stance is going to take a wait and see, and see if anything, do charges actually come out of this, and does any more new information come out of this?
Thank you, Dean. Shamsul.
I'm looking at it from far away. What I see in this case is two things. Number one, it reminds me of the uranium cake that sparked the Iraq War. It's not as serious as that in terms of the impact, but it does. What they did was, if I were to believe Matt Taibbi's report, and I think it will spark at least, I have a gut feeling that a special counsel is going to come around. They're going to appoint a special counsel and drag this whole investigation for at least a year and a half, if not 2 years. So I think there's a strategy, and there's also actually, at the end of the day, a reckoning. I sort of like was thinking the same thing. Well, on to Andre's point, I think they're looking at an attempt at doing a 25th Amendment charge on Obama, on Trump. I think there is a case made by on the espionage charge as well, because the memo was not out or declassified, and Washington Post has got the news and broke the story. So I think there's going to be a long drawn affair that's going to trickle out to the public, and I think if you ask me, if this all comes together, it's going to be worse than Watergate. Watch it.
Okay.
That's for now.
Thank you for that, Shamsul. Jen? I should say good morning. Good morning, Jen, if you'd like to unmute. There you go.
Sorry, I couldn't get to my mute button fast enough. Well, I guess, Andre, if you're going to talk about the whole Georgia votes thing and the presumption that he was actually asking them to generate votes rather than, like find some, what do you call it? A thumb drive with votes on it all of the sudden, that kind of thing. So that was like 4 years, 3.5 years after this thing with Obama. Okay. So this thing with Obama that's coming up is in 2016, not 2020. So totally different issues. Okay. So if you're going to do that, then I'm going to come at you with, okay, what about the laptop that wasn't earmarked by a Russian interference? That at that time, the FBI already knew it had been authenticated. And how do we know this? Because they said so in court in the trial against Hunter Biden. So they already knew it was all legit, that it was all his, that it was all him. So if you're going to play that, Trump wasn't a perfect person kind of thing, well, we can play this with other things. But I, quite frankly, want to see some sort of thing. If our intelligence services were used in the wrong way, I want it exposed with real evidence so that whatever needs to happen to prevent this from happening in the future can happen. I would like to see a couple of guys go to jail. I think that would be great. I don't expect that to happen. I sure don't expect, anything to happen to Obama, of course. But, people need to know that things will eventually come out and ruin people. And so don't do it. Don't do it. Don't use the intelligence services to politicize something. So it's what got Nixon to resign, so good chances this actually is worse than Watergate. I don't want a special counsel, but I would like to see if there's more evidence declassified to see what that is.
Jen, I think what you were insinuating is the media collusion aspect regarding the Hunter Biden laptop, and what Matt Taibbi said, it might have been to Megyn Kelly or Kiriakou, that unlike the WMDs, right, which the media put out there, Saddam, the WMDs, which outside of the ones the U.S. supplied him, but it took a long time for the media to get behind that. Whereas in this case, the allegation is the media was on board right away with this assessment narrative. That is the implication of the coup, that the media is colluding along with it.
You mean that cabal of people that Mark Zuckerberg actually talked about in, what was it, Time magazine or whatever? That cabal of media and social media and people that were actually working in concert together, to keep Trump from getting reelected. So, okay. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that Mark Zuckerberg reference. I appreciate that, Jen. Andre?
Yeah. So Jen, first I was responding to Raul's introduction. I don't know if you missed the beginning part, but
Probably did.
Raul mentioned the first thing was the votes, the Georgia votes, which and again I haven't heard this narrative prior to Raul just saying it today that Trump was talking about a greater context, but as far as the 20,000 votes, we actually have 11,000 whatever votes. We actually have the transcript. That was something that was played. That's something we have on record. In contrast to what Raul said later was that what's being framed as Obama saying something, and it's actually a specific dictate, as I think it was Papadopoulos who was saying that Obama was actually ordering things. We don't have a transcript of that, so we don't know exactly. And there might be a transcript, but we have never seen that, so we don't know exactly what was being discussed at that meeting with Obama and the principles that's being referred to now in December of 2016. In contrast to what we actually know happened at the Trump telephone conversation with the Secretary of State of Georgia. As far as Hunter Biden's laptop, yes, I've read that the FBI verified that the serial number was all okay, but I think the scandal really was the release of information. And I know that the Washington Post and New York Times, at least, have said that they were never granted access to the hard drive or to the original that was supposed to be around. That only people only got access to that later. There was a copy that was sent to Giuliani, and Giuliani was willing to share copies of things with certain outlets like the New York Post, but no journalist got access to the original to verify whether this was real or not. Apart from the fact that you're saying that the FBI verified that the serial number and the Apple ID matched Hunter Biden's. At that point, nobody had done a forensic report, as far as I know, whether this material was real or faked or not.
But actually, I don't think that was the inference in the trial at all. I don't believe the inference was that it was simply verified based on it was the serial number and it was owned by him.
And the Apple Cloud ID. I think they verified, the FBI verified that. But beyond that, I don't know if they did a report on if there was any fake information entered into it.
I don't.
It could be. I don't know.
I don't think in the trial that was the inference.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Luke from China.
Well, this is the whole thing. It's like the problem is with the press. I mean, I don't think we're gonna have nobody's gonna be running towards the fences to get Obama put into prison. I think we're kind of past that. I think the biggest issue is that we have a lot of people in the press that are getting Pulitzer Prizes for failed stuff that they're talking about, and I think that's where a lot of people are pissed off. It's like, look. And I'll continue to say this again and again. We can always vote out a senator. We can always have 8 years of a president and he leaves. There is no way we can get rid of a journalist or the bureaucrats that are in DC. And because of that, we're going to continue to have them push for crazy things or talk about crazy things or put up propaganda. And for me, just like Mark, I am tired of this way of doing things because the media is the fourth wheel. They're the ones who are supposed to be the ones pushing for truth. And it just tires me to death that they can't admit that they were wrong, just like they were with weapons of mass destruction with Iraq. And they can't do that for, a very simple thing called Russiagate.
Well, and Luke, what do you think of our good friend Mark Halperin? I don't think it was till the end of the show that a guest called in and brought up this topic. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the problem. I mean, Mark can only push so hard on what's going on with the press because, this was always the idea was that, okay, Trump won. Okay, this is a wake-up call to everybody that, the things that are going on now have become so problematic that you have a crazy TV host coming in and being president. So maybe we should all kind of get back in line, have some responsibility, get some things going. The problem was, no, they wanted to double down. And, you can't double down with Trump because he's just going to continue to do what he was. But but then when Trump was gone, they just continued going on. And so my biggest fear now is after Trump leaves in 3 years, they're going to just continue playing their little game, and it's going to just hurt any kind of New York Times or Wall Street Journal or any other big time newspaper, and it's disappointing.
Thank you for that, Luke. Yes, and so the claim is that the conspiracy is ongoing by the fact that the people involved, the media, it's still pushing the same narrative. If just to try to point out, right? There's a figure, Mifsud, some ambassador, that's claimed that he's the one that found out Papadopoulos had access to hacked emails, but this Mifsud character apparently has been meeting with Boris Johnson for some time after. So this guy could be found out and interrogated and to see what's what, who knows what. But let me try to just say this before I get to Shamsul. The claim is Obama led it, that intelligence was going one way and that Obama made the decision to take it the other way. That's how they're pinning it on the former president. Shamsul?
Yeah. Okay. I just want to add a few things. One, when I tell my guys, find me 5 million in revenue, I don't ask them to go and steal 5 million. I ask them to hustle and find me sales. I've been there. That's businessman talk, man. Find me 5 million. Get on your butt. Right? It's nothing I've never heard before. When you talk about transcripts or whatever, this is exactly where I come out and say, wait for the special counsel. I think the special counsel is coming. Okay? These guys in the Trump team, these guys are good. They know what they're doing. All right? Underestimate them at your own peril. I think the whole thing also reeks of Hillary influence as well. You know, when I hear this thing, right? Tulsi was a Russian asset when she was challenging Hillary. The Steele dossier on Trump's situation supposedly being put in the position of going to be blackmailed in Russia and being videotaped in Moscow, the Steele dossier was paid for by the Hillary campaign. So the pattern is just so clear. And Obama is and the Democrat Party is so invested in Hillary to continue the Obama legacy. And they lost. I think this one, but I still, like the last time I spoke on this subject, I think at the end of the day, you're going to see Brennan and Comey and Comey going to get thrown under the bus. They're the one who's going to get it. You know, I think Obama's going to go scot-free the way Reagan did, the way for Iran-Contra, the way Bush did for the weapons of mass destruction. Same thing, you know? So the last point I want to make before this is that I have never seen an instance until Trump that a former president was subjected to the lawfare that Trump went through. You guys know the case, the Mar-a-Lago case, as a businessman is utterly nonsense. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. The so-called rape case is, again, another civil case that the judge went totally bonkers. So this whole thing reeks to me as a setup from the very beginning, and this is just a conclusion. All right, let's see what happens. Andre, I think, want to say something.
Yeah, I mean,
Hey, do it for all yours.
The number one thing is, again, I come back to, and nobody has said this since this time, but at the very beginning, a coup was mentioned, and I still am awaiting to understand where and who was running this coup, and how long was it in power in the United States. Clearly, there was none. That's me facetious.
I think that's where they're going, Andre.
Number two is, as we just heard in one of the clips, that was John Ratcliffe, head of the CIA, saying that a criminal conspiracy charge is what we're going to be looking at, but he will leave that to the law enforcement people to figure out what the charges are. I understand, and from what you're saying as well, Shamsul, this is very similar, actually, to what we heard during the prosecution of Trump, which was a criminal conspiracy on various counts. But underlying that is a crime, and this is something that Trump was trying to say. Underlying that, that's not really a crime. it's not really a crime for me to do this, so we can't have a criminal conspiracy, which is not true. You can't have a criminal conspiracy without an underlying crime. But here, again, we're saying that there's a conspiracy. I want to know what the crime is, because I'm not quite sure what the crime is that we're alleging people who I'm not quite sure were part of the conspiracy, because at some point we have the press involved, we have some members of the diplomacy and bureaucracy involved, possibly President Obama being the mastermind. So I'm hearing a lot that there is a conspiracy, but I don't know what the underlying crimes are yet.
Okay, I think I have an answer, but first, Professor Kenny. Unmute, Professor. Give Professor Kenny a second there. I'll throw him an ask to unmute button. Okay, maybe we have to get back to the professor. While we're waiting, Andre, I mean, just to play out the hypotheticals, right? If I say you're a Russian agent and I make up to say that, I mean, just that hypothetical.
Agent or asset?
Either one.
No, that's a big difference.
Okay, but if it's a lie.
Sure.
Okay, if it's a lie, and then I'm able to, he's an agent or an asset, and then I'm able to strip you of all your businesses. You're no longer can speak in public on behalf of Ukraine because that guy's, he's an asset or agent. Would that be a crime?
Well, I don't know how you would strip people from doing that, but is that something that the government would do? Or
I mean, if I had the entire media apparatus at my beck and call, and I could get all the media figures to go, whatever. I don't want to go more with the hypothetical there because we like you so much.
Well, I don't really know how one person, even Rupert Murdoch, doesn't control the entire media. So it's, how does one go about controlling having the media apparatus at their beck and call, basically?
The time delay or lack of time delay, that's what Taibi's saying about. As soon as this intelligence assessment was reversed, right, they were all out the gate. So Professor Kenny, I think you're back with us.
Yeah, I don't know, but you asked me to unmute myself. I was just kind of listening.
Okay.
Raise your hand.
How's everybody? Is everybody good?
We're good.
Okay. I'm working my other job. I'm in a hotel room in Arizona. So I will let you guys back.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Kenny. Yeah, we actually got to meet up last week, which was great. So back to this discussion, right? Folks are saying probably not Obama, right? Because that's just, the president and stuff. However, I'll throw this back out to the group. If it can be shown somehow that Obama is still involved in this, right? Does then the immunity apply? How about that for folks? Does presidential immunity apply if it can be shown that right now this alleged conspiracy is still ongoing?
I think it applies.
Okay.
That's the reason why I'm more inclined to think that the guys who's gonna get thrown under the bus is Clapper, Brennan, and Comey. More than likely, the star of it is gonna be Brennan, and I think well, I know this is speculation, but it goes back to Andre's point, which is exactly this is why for Theodore, if you ask me, and this is basically how this Trump and his team going to handle it, which is I'm going to have it as a spectacle. I will draw this out for a year and a half, if not two. Guys, I've been in the rough and tumble of this dirty business as a business, right? That's exactly how I will drag this whole thing.
That was my toast.
I'm going to enjoy it. I'll tell you, I'm going to, as a business guy, if I get into a corporate tussle like this, I will drag you through hell. And then I'll kick you out.
Okay. Thank you for that, Shamsul. Jen from Oklahoma.
Well, in terms of presidential immunity, I don't really know how all that would apply because that ruling did not give the president immunity over all things in all situations. So I don't really know exactly how that thing would shake out. In terms of it being a coup, I couldn't agree more with Andre. I don't see how any of this would technically be a coup. But then again, I didn't see in any way how January 6th could have been considered a coup, and that word was thrown around. It's still thrown around for that. It wasn't even an insurrection. So, I mean, people just, they like a word and they don't really care about the technical meaning of the word. But I agree. I mean, it, even if it was an attempted coup, it certainly was, what would you call it? Um, More a coup of reputation, I guess, than a coup of, people marching in the office and uh, putting him under, arrest and evicting him from the White House kind of thing. So doesn't feel like a coup. Feels dirty, maybe illegal. I do believe any attempt to politicize the intelligence community is illegal. Because it was illegal in Nixon's day, and I don't think we've changed any laws on that. So, all right.
Jen, if I could just, I guess, push back a little bit. I mean, if you were running a shop of, let's say, 10 employees, and now the employees have been told, well, you are just this horrible human being, and they stop doing work for you, is that not an effective coup?
No, that just makes you um, it creates a scenario where you cannot do your job. But
that the American people voted for in this case, right?
Jen, Rahul, why don't I put to Jen this way? Jen, think about it this way. If I use the 25th Amendment, Section 1, which allows for the removal of a president, and you make that based on evidence that is manufactured from the intelligence community, would that not be a violation of? Would that not be a conspiracy?
It would be a conspiracy, and it would be illegal. I don't think it would necessarily be a coup based on how the world has always defined a coup up until now.
All right.
All
right.
Okay. All right. I think that's a pause for. Oh, was that one more thing, Jen? Sorry. Go ahead.
We have a 25th Amendment for a purpose. It was a shame it wasn't used a couple of years ago, but I think if you subvert the will of the American people, I think you can get by with a lot before they actually revolt against you. So that's all I can say. It would take an awful lot for people to rise up in arms and tell the government you can't go around subverting the will of the American people. So I think they came as close as they could to affecting a change in leadership. But they didn't actually succeed, really. And I'm so grateful that Trump's the fighter that he is, because I can't imagine anybody else who could have come back to office the way he did.
Thank you for that, Jen. Luke?
Well, you have to kind of think about it. It wasn't a coup. It wasn't anything else. It was more of, you have to remember, what did Trump do when he first came into becoming the president? Most presidents, they'll probably do one or two small things, trying to get things weeded in. You have to remember, Trump went crazy and was doing executive orders and doing everything that everybody was going crazy about. And so for me, what this sounds like is more of, okay, let's slow him down. Because if he just keeps going, he's going to just keep making all these changes. And the bureaucrats, which I think are the real people who are the issue, is the bureaucrats. We're just like, no, we don't want all this change, because one, the most obvious reason is they're lazy. They don't want to do any extra work. And by having, like, for example, Trump fire a lot of people, that means they're going to have to go to work and do more work. And two, it's just that they don't want to change things that I've already know that they can get around with. And so by having Trump get in the way, it's like, okay, we got to stop him, because if he keeps going, then we can't do our shenanigans.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you for that, Luke. Andre, to close out this topic.
Just want to say peace, love, and understanding. I love these conversations. I love that Jen and I can agree on things and disagree on others, and we come to like similar conclusions. I love this. This is great. This is awesome. Again, about the coup, with Shamsul's point about the 25th Amendment, like, it's legal. Like, the 25th Amendment is an amendment. It's the law. Coup is illegal. It is about taking power from people illegally. And so you would have to have like a majority of the cabinet vote. Then the vice president would assume the presidency. This is within the scope of who was running the government at the time. This is not an outside group of people. So yeah, if the 25th Amendment says it's legal, then it's not a coup d'etat. But again, I'm just loving this conversation. I love how we can approach things from different sides and still agree on some things.
Thank you for that. Yes.
Can I say one last thing?
Please, Shamsul.
Claire Underwood.
What?
Claire Underwood.
Claire Underwood.
Now we're referencing Kevin Spacey dramas, House of Cards.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, for the YouTube audience and for everyone out there, right? It's always, what would Andre do? That's how we try to approach our.
Oh, definitely not. No, because then nobody would sleep. So yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay, except for the sleep part.
That's how I approach everything in life. What would Andre do?
I wait for Andre to say something before I say anything.
It's what I think we're going to see in the coming weeks and months, right, is the role of the media. Okay, because in the Iraq War, the WMDs, right, it seems like no lessons were learned, right? There was no sense of, well, let me fact check these things, let me look into this, right? And so we're a friendly group of sorts, in right here, right? But in many people's minds, Trump became the Manchurian candidate. Asset agent of Russia. I don't know. We have to figure out exactly how people view that, but that this guy was doing the bidding of a foreign country. And there are YouTube channels. Let's not forget. I think it was mentioned already. Pulitzer Prizes were awarded for an intelligence operation. So this is what's going to be coming out. And our friend from Chicago, Brian, raised his hand. So Brian, please unmute. Love to hear from you.
Hi, thanks. Yeah, one thing I wanted to share was media is still important, but it's not as important as it used to be. And how I bring that about and how I back that up is, after Thanksgiving, I went to a family gathering, and people wouldn't even talk to me because I voted for Trump. Wouldn't talk to me at all. And now 4th of July comes around. Guess what? It was 99% wouldn't talk to me. Now there's 50% talking with me. Okay? So some people like what he's doing. Some people like what he's doing, but hate the way he does it. But it's still results orientated. And what I did was, I knew I was going to the 4th of July party, and I knew I was going to get bombarded with questions. So I wrote all those questions down by an 8.5, 11 piece of paper. And I got up and I said, guess what, guys? I'm here to, and just so you know, over Thanksgiving, I gave some people some websites to go to watch, to get some other spins on news. So now 4th of July, I show up, some people are ready to go. And I said, listen, before you get my time, I want you to read this sheet. And it listed off all the talking points for the media. And people were asking me, why? How did you know that? And I said, that's just how they run the news. And then I'll leave you with this final one is, until it impacts you, you don't really care about the news. So my little niece, basically there was a guy coming into her locker room. So she had to quit sports. Now the grandma loves this little niece. And, we were talking to her and she basically said, I don't think that's right. And I said, well, just so you know, the Democrats voted for that. And I said, here's where you go look for it. This is what they're supporting. Leave me out of this. And they came back and they could not believe it. And now I will tell you, she's one of those gray hair ones that are up behind the wheel driving, She's spreading the rumor, man. She's got all of her friends. And now when I see them, because sometimes I'll see them at the health club, they'll say, hey, what's your spin on that? So I do think the media, the old Democrats, including myself, are starting to realize, guess what? Everything they're saying anymore, you got to look at it a couple different ways and do the research on your own. Thanks.
Thank you so much for that, Brian. And I agree with you wholeheartedly, right? I also, union organizer past, knocked on doors for Kerry, knocked on doors for Obama, right? So, I kind of learned the hard way on these things. That's going to close out that topic to our third topic, a little lighter, I think, a little more hopeful. EU and US agree on a trade deal with 15% tariffs for European exports to America. This is from the BBC. Under the agreement, Trump said the EU would boost its investment in the US by $600 billion, purchase hundreds of billions of dollars of American military equipment, and spend $750 billion on energy. That investment in American liquefied natural gas, oil, and nuclear fuels would, von der Leyen said, help reduce European reliance on Russian power sources. Is this a win-win? Dan Tarantino was skeptical. He's still skeptical. Will this make a believer out of him? Well, not anytime soon. So what do folks think about the EU deal? Is it big league? Luke from China. Oh, you're muted, Luke.
There we go. I'm not muted anymore. As one of the two international people here today, I think they got away with like a bandit's gold worth of opportunities for America. I mean, I don't know who the heck was in charge of the EU for this one, but man, they got like zero return. I mean, I've been watching Twitter and everybody's been like, what was Europe thinking? They gave up everything, a king's ransom, just to keep up with the Americans. And, I've been wondering this too, because it's becoming very big and it's really crazy for me.
Why do you think Europe caved?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out, why did they cave?
Curious what other folks think about this. Frank.
Okay, can someone explain to me exactly what was agreed in this package, and what is the difference between what they plan to buy in the future versus what they've purchased in the past? And if it means that they're buying less energy from Russia, that sounds significant and maybe a good thing for the British and for the Americans. But are they paying a higher price in terms of buying from us, like transportation costs or something like this? Or, what is the burden that they're bearing, that is on their side of the deal? So if someone can explain that to me.
Okay. Andre?
I don't know if I can explain the price difference about the burden and stuff, but I will back up what Dan talked about at the morning meeting, that a lot of these, we're still not at a point that any of these trade deals have gone into force with any legislative body approving them. So the announcement today was very similar to what happened in Japan and other countries, where we're still waiting on the final deals, which also means we don't have the final language about any of this stuff. So that might help us, Frank. And like, as soon as a actual text of a trade deal is published, we can know a little bit more about. I know a lot of people on the economic news side of things, or the business news side of things, are questioning about all this investment in the United States. Where does that go? The Japan fund of $550 million is being questioned because the president seems to have full oversight about where that's supposed to be invested. Does he give it to political donors? How exactly does that investment work? There's also a question about some of this foreign investment. So this is mentioned in the Japan deal and in the EU deal from today, that the EU is going to invest X hundreds of billion dollars. And some of that is being talked about not being invested into business, but into a sovereign wealth fund of the United States, and who controls that. And that's just a new mechanism of having foreign nations put money into some kind of fund controlled by who exactly. So I don't think we have. Basically, the answer is we don't know, because we haven't seen the text. And if we haven't seen the text, I go back to my thing about the transcripts earlier. Like, we have transcripts, we can see what they were talking about. Other stuff is speculation, and right now there's a lot of speculation about these trade deals.
That's clear as mud.
Just more questions, Frank.
Why the word cave when it applied to to Britain, or Great Britain? Sorry, United Kingdom.
I think that was poor choice of words on my part. I was
sorry. The UK was a separate deal from the EU one today. So the UK was a deal that was announced earlier, still in the framework. But the deal that was announced today was when Ursula von der Leyen came to the UK to announce the EU deal, which are two separate ones. And I think during the morning meeting, or somebody pointed out that, Sean said, right? Sean said that the UK got it in at 10% tariffs. The EU, he said they waited too long and they got 15% as a minimum tariff. Again, I don't know what the actual deal is.
No, I think the UK had finalized the deal at 10% tariff. I think that's what he was referring to, Andre. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know if that's a cave. Is that the cave? Is it the EU that caved? I don't know who caved. So.
No. The EU deal came earlier.
Yeah. No, the UK came before the EU.
Sorry. The UK one came earlier. EU just announced yesterday morning or something like that. Or is it? Yeah, when he was in Scotland, right? And the EU lady came to meet
today.
him. Yeah, today. So to me, I look at it as 15% from a tariff that was put at 30%. So from that standpoint, you can say, well, it's a win for both parties. The thing then is actually for importers to negotiate with exporters on who's going to swallow that 15%. That's what's going to happen. And I think you're looking at, for the EU, if you ask me, they desperately need to bring in exports, because really, their whole economy is about exporting. Especially the automobiles, right? So that's one of the major things. So machinery, but I think automobiles is probably one of the things that's going to get hit hard if they get hit by 30%. So yeah, that's my thought.
Okay, thank you for that, Shamsul. Andre, what about this last part I read out from the BBC about helping to reduce Europe's reliance on Russian power sources?
That's part of also, again, why we want to hear. I don't even think that some of this stuff is going to be published in the final trade deal, but I know that there were security concerns built into these negotiations as well. So we'll probably find out a bit about that. On the business side of it, yes, they want to get EU to transition more outside, but it's never going to be enough with the LNG and stuff, unless they spend the money on upgrading their ports and stuff. So yeah, they could do more U.S. Oil purchases, ramping those up. But in the end, I think it's going to be their energy is going to have to go, changing their nuclear policy. And I think that's why you heard the president talk about that. We've had a couple announcements in the United States about that, with New York being one of the leaders of having new nuclear plants being built in the United States. And I think that's the only way they can work their way out. I think the buying oil and gas from the United States is going to be a temporary thing, just to show that they're going to go away from Russia. But I think in the end, that's not going to, getting stuff from the United States to Europe is not the long-term solution in terms of the energy needs they have. They have to go nuclear again.
The ports you're talking about, would that be, for example, let's say along the Texas coast, like LNG?
No, actually, we have the ports in the United States. It's about the
Europe side.
It's about the Europe side ports, and you don't just build the ports; you have to have the infrastructure to then deliver it to where you need to go. So,
okay, all right, maybe an interesting project for Europe.
That's a good Aaron topic.
Yes. Yes, that's right. He can tell us how many ports need to be developed there. Well, that's bringing us to the end of our show here. We have a few more minutes on the live portion. If folks have any other thoughts or what else was left out of the news cycle. I thought this morning Mark kind of had the president on for a little bit longer. I don't know if Mark's just played that much news footage at one time. Has he done that before, or was today a bit of a precedent?
I think today was a bit of a precedent, if I were to remember, since I've been following the show.
Yeah, I've never seen him do it that long either.
Yeah.
Because especially since it started even before it was live. I remember.
That's true.
Luke was in the chat going, "Are we even having a show? Are we starting early? What's happening?"
Yeah. Hey, to Jen's point on the coverage by the media on this. Sorry, I come back again just to close out the second topic just now. On how the media is treating. I was watching Meet the Press, and they devoted like 90% of the coverage on the Epstein thing on Meet the Press, and touch a bit of 10% on this thing. So you know where the media is. Maybe we can close on that.
Yeah, that is going to be how can I say it? That would be some progress if we can finally understand how the media works, what the interlink is. It seems obvious to some, for others not as obvious. So we need to see really what is that connection. These people that won Pulitzer Prizes, what did you win a Pulitzer Prize for? That is, again, it's a bit
the same way Obama won his Peace Prize.
Yeah, that kind of sums that up. So, okay, folks, I think we're going to close out the live portion here. Please stick with us a little bit. We'll hang out on Zoom for 15-20 minutes post-live and carry on the conversation. Give me one second for our little outro here. And where is it? I hope this is the right one.
Hey, it's Rahul Stunt Double. That's a wrap. Join us tomorrow and kickstart your morning with us. Head over to postmorningshow.com and join us on the Post Morning Show Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 7 to 8 a.m. Pacific, 9 to 10 a.m. Central, 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern. Don't miss out. Join the conversation live at postmorningshow.com. See you there. Set your alarms, grab your coffee, and join the fun. Postmorningshow.com. See you bright and early.